Oh boy, so lots of inquiries and challenges because of our self care or lack thereof, or compassionate self care or lack thereof in the last week in my practice. So I thought I'd do something different. A few things colliding here. We're, of course, past the hurdle of the spring of the winter solstice. We're now at the rebirth. The light is starting to get longer and longer and longer. And of course, in the hut this morning, we are talking about the virtue of patience and being patient. And of course, as time goes on, 1% of more light every day, and the next thing you know, the spring bulbs are coming up, and we can see the light in the day, we can see the light of day, and we can see, of course, a lot more because there just generally is more light. And so, but in the deepest part of winter, we need good, compassionate self-care. And so we're moving in the right direction, light is increasing, and I want you to have more light, more compassionate self-care, and more of you just feeling like you could really show up for your families. One of the things that's very difficult is that sometimes we go home and we're all of a sudden, we're very accomplished in our career and our marriage and our, we've got kids and a full life going on, but then we go home and all of a sudden we're back to 5 years old. And so in our dad's eyes or in our mom's eyes. So today I want to talk a little bit about what is compassionate self-care as opposed to regular self-care. And I thought I'd do that by, a little shameless plug here for my book, which you're going to see down below, is free to you guys if you get a hold of me before the 25th of Christmas. Of course, it's absolutely not going to be free at all after that. No, I'm teasing. I just want you guys to get a hold of me. I'd love to share this with you. It's in a long haul. It's called Freedom Mountain, The Quest to Our True Self, and in 3 parts. In 3 parts: ourself, relationships, and our works. Finding meaningful work, finding healthy, courageous relationships, and good village care and belonging and home, and then also really good compassionate self-care. So I've got a little blurb from one of the stories. The book itself is it's about 33 different articles. It's got some personal notes from me in there, and it's got some questions and some stories, transformational stories that you've heard me talk a little bit about, Rainmaker, the half boy, and things like that. And then it also has a means of kind of tying it all together to give you a good idea of what it is to be living on Freedom Mountain and spiraling upwards into thriving as opposed to just surviving. So here's the note on how I learned about self-care. I was a scrappy, happy child growing up in Howth Hill, Ireland, with the smell of the ocean in my nostrils, and my eyes looked across the water to Dublin City. My days were full of swimming, chasing cows, and the castle next door, which fueled my imagination with tales of adventure and daring. My 3 brothers and sisters and I were together and got into the right kind of trouble. For 7 years, I lived that kind of exquisite life where self-care happened naturally. My body, my mind, my soul were happy and healthy as any boy could be. We left Ireland and spent a couple of years in England, a kind of purgatory on our way to an even darker place and time. At 10 years old, I arrived in Toronto, and life shifted into a sort of hell on earth for me and my family. My dad had gone ahead to a job he was promised and a house he would have ready for our arrival. There we were, downtown Toronto, at an appointed hour and meeting spot. No sign of my dad, no house, no job. It turns out Dad was having an affair, my parents were splitting up, and we had no means to support ourselves in a strange city, strange country. Life became a series of shocking events. I was beaten up by other kids who found my accent strange. I was raped. I was witness to murder. The contrast of my bucolic life in Ireland was too much to bear. I remember standing at the corner of Bay and Bloor, thinking to myself, I can stop this. I can step in front of the bus barreling by, and this could be all over. Imagine 10 years old, thinking of taking his life, my life. But as I stood there watching the rush hour traffic thunder by, I heard a voice. It told me that I could gather stories for my grandchildren. Now, at 10 years old, I had no thoughts of grandchildren, but something about that voice stopped me in my tracks. I guess it told me that someone thought I had a future. The voice brought with it the feeling of peace I had always felt in Ireland, so I trusted it. I knew I had to help my family and stay connected with them. So I played sports, and when I was old enough, I got a paper route and helped my mom pay the rent with the little money I made. We all did. Each brother and sister, one in turn. We made it work. Years later, I would tell a story called Inuit Intelligence, which you can find on my website. It tells how each person in the village has a skill and a contribution to make, and each stands up to do his part when the other sits down. This is how my family survived. We each did our part. I played sports, hockey, rugby. I started running. So I was learning how to take care of my body, and my mind kept focused on helping my family. But something was missing. I was 26 years old, and I hadn't yet learned about taking care of my heart and soul. My sister and I bought a house for our mother and I left for Vancouver and a new life. The spiritual teachers showed up. I deepened my yoga practice to a whole new level. I co-founded the Spiritual Healing Center, where we help people who were suffering and dying of AIDS, and we taught meditation and yoga. I had learned about village intelligence from my family experience, and now I could put that into practice here. My self-care was deepening, but there was still another level I was about to learn. Okay, my baby daughter died. A wave of grief so overwhelming, so deep, took over my body and soul. That wave opened the wrenching wounds in my psyche that I had damped down in order to survive. Now I was being ripped open. My marriage was over. My life was in tatters. I felt like I needed to go back to school to better understand what makes human beings tick. I felt naked and raw, but I did what I knew how to do. I studied, I learned, I achieved. I spent 7 years getting 2 degrees, 1.5 degrees in psychology, and I did a mountain of personal healing. Finally, I was taking care of myself on all levels, body, mind, and soul. I was living proof that if we don't take care of the basics first, we can never become our whole self. It makes me think of another story, the one about the rainmaker, which you can read about on my website. Interesting that here I am, so many years later, and that voice that stopped me from jumping in front of the Bay Street bus is echoing in these stories I have preserved and that I feed on every day. Inspired by the rainmaker who sat in his hut and took care of himself while the town waited for him to bring the rain and life back to their desperate village, I started the hut practice as a daily online offering when COVID started. It is so important to me to bring myself and anyone who wants to join me back to the basics, back to the sitting in natural great peace. Here in the hut, we can return to ourselves and experience our true essence. I can still get taken out by the old wounds, but I know what to do in order to come back to my center. It takes discipline, patience, and a practice, but it's there for me. It's there for all of us. if we decide to give this gift of compassionate self-care to ourselves. Be open to what life brings you. These events offer you the formula for your own unique self-care. Okay, that's was hard, but that was my little blurb on the book, which I'd love for you to order. Just ask me and I'll send it to you. I'm happy to give it to you. It's a bit of it's a composite of different things. So that being said, I do want to say that the self-care piece that I started talking about over the last newsletter is so vital and so very important over the holidays. It's a thing that sometimes is the make or break for people who've had challenges like I have or other people have had with mental health or depression or family conflict. Everything starts to wind up, and we're at the tail end of a COVID time of challenge. So I want to just use the rest of our time here to re-emphasize how important compassionate self-care is. So what's the difference between regular self-care and compassionate self-care? And by the way, this compassionate self-care course that we're offering, a 6-week course in January, is starting on Thursday, January 7th. It's 6 weeks long. It's high engagement. There's lots of Q&A time. There's individual interviews. It's a pilot, so you get to co-design it. It's not just information-based, left on your own, and you go on your own. It's very much the village is involved, so each of us are supporting each other. And it's $197 if you sign up. It's half price right now if you sign up, like tonight at midnight kind of thing. Before Christmas, let's say that, and then $297 if you come as a couple or you come with a good friend. So, and this last little piece here, I want to talk a little bit about the compassionate self-care as opposed to regular self-care. So the main difference is with the regular self-care is the intention. There's sometimes the intention is we just need to get a six-pack, whereas compassionate self-care is about, wow, how can I be happy, healthy, holy? How can I really live a flexible, healthy, balanced life, still get results, but also be in the world of excellence as opposed to the world of perfection where I have to be down 30 pounds in 30 days kind of thing. So the intention is different. The intention is about aliveness for compassionate self-care. Probably one of the most important things is in regular self-care, it kind of promotes this not enoughness. If you've had trouble in your past and you have had shame or challenges with body image, or you've been teased about spirituality, or there's some critic in your history, let's put it that way, then you tend to mobilize what we call not enoughness. Versus compassionate self-care is really about us mobilizing that part of us that is complete, that is already whole despite the challenges, that we don't have to do anything. We just need to rest into this. This is about the body. This is about body, mind, soul. This is about us just trying to do some temporary fix, short term, maybe 3 weeks, maybe 3 months. This is about, what are you doing for the next 30 years? Don't you want to build a sustainable, flexible, balanced self-care that gets results that you want, but allows you to really deepen your friendship with yourself, along the way. Anyway, you can see the difference. So, of course, we're going to be learning about the 4 pillars, the showing up, be attentive, tell the truth with compassion, let go of attachment to outcome. We're going to see how those same 4 pillars of successful relationships on the outside also apply to the relationship on the inside. We're going to learn a lot about atomic habits and the latest research on how to make sure that we're doing things in a good way, and the difference, and what compound interest is of 1% movement of habit making a day can make a huge shift down the road in the long run. But that a short, intense 100-yard dash January 1st, yeah, I think you know how that ends. So I want you to come and join me. I want you to come to the course. The course only has room for 15 people. Let me know before Christmas if you want this, or you want to buy this for a friend or for you and your partner for the new year. We're starting the 7th of January. It's 6 weeks. highly engaging, lots of Q&A, lots of opportunity to custom design your own body, mind, soul self-care. It's based on the self-care pyramid, which is a freebie on my website. You can have a look at that. It's based on these 4 pillars. It's based on learning atomic habits, how to keep good, healthy habits long term, so that you can really start to, thrive in terms of being healthy, happy, holy. The vitality, intimacy, and prosperity of aliveness. So I hope that's useful. I want you to, of course, do all of this over the holidays and pace yourself with your family. Really give yourself permission to step out and do what you need to do for yourself so that you can fill your cup, so that you can go back in and do a little bit more of family and then come back out. There's family that is in-laws, there's outlaws, there's our own renegade, rascally brothers and sisters. And so be good to yourself. Be compassionate. Compassion is the way. It changes the tone. It changes everything for us. And so compassionate self-care is what I'm asking you to walk into. There's all sorts. There's 13. If you get my book, there's 13 different articles on it. There's questions in each of it. That will be a warm-up if you want to join me in the course. If you don't want to join me in the course, that's okay. You can still do all the exercises. That is just a whole section on self-care. Remember, the book is Freedom Mountain, the journey to our true self in 3 parts. The parts are self-care, compassionate self-care, our relationship with others, and our relationship with meaningful and purposeful work, and how to do that. The formula is to get in that.